Hello everyone, I am Suchita, your botany faculty from Infinity Learn by Sri Chaitanya. Today we will be again continuing with the topic cell cycle and cell division. But before we start this lecture, let me tell you that there are some amazing sessions going on in our Infinity Learn platform. Do check it out at infinitylearn.com. And also if you want to avail some courses, then you can use the code Suchita40 and get a flat 40% discount, right? So let us start with today's topic of discussion. Last class we had completed telophase, right? This class we will be starting with cytokinesis. So generally when we are talking about the M phase, we know that the M phase has two phases. What are they? Karyokinesis and cytokinesis, correct? Now we had discussed karyokinesis. What is meant by karyokinesis? Karyokinesis is the division of the nucleus, right? Now the nucleus have divided and there is the formation of two daughter nuclei. But that is not all, right? So now there has to be the formation of the two daughter cells as well. So the process by which the cytoplasm divides and there is the production of two daughter cells, that is known as cytokinesis, right? So you see the division of the cytoplasm, the division of the, let me take a pen here, yeah. So the division of the cytoplasm producing two daughter cells, that is known as cytokinesis. Now students, please remember that whenever cytokinesis is taking place, what is happening is that the organelles like the mitochondria, the plastids, they are equally getting distributed in the daughter cells, right? So it's not that one daughter cell will have an enormous number of mitochondria, another daughter cell will not have, or will be having very less number of mitochondria. That is not how the cell divides. There is more or less equal distribution of the cell organelles, right? Now there are certain cases students, there are certain cases jahan pe the karyokinesis is not followed by cytokinesis. यानी कि देखो बेटा karyokinesis तो हो गया, ठीक है, हमारा karyokinesis is done और इसके वजह से न्यूक्लियस जो है that got divided, right? लेकिन मैं क्या बोल रही हूँ, साइटोकाइनेसिस या फिर डिविजन ऑफ द साइटोप्लाज्म जो है वो एब्सेंट है. तो इस केस में व्हाट विल हैपन, इन दिस केस इट विल गिव राइज टू अ मल्टी न्यूक्लिएट कंडीशन, राइट? क्योंकि बार बार क्या होगा, रिपीटेडली देयर विल बी डिविजन ऑफ द न्यूक्लियस बट इट वोंट बी फॉलोड बाय द डिविजन ऑफ द साइटोप्लाज्म. तो इस केस में इट विल गिव राइज टू अ मल्टी न्यूक्लिएटेड कंडीशन and that multinucleated condition can be called as syncytium, right? That multinucleated condition can be called as syncytium. समझ में आया इतना आप लोगों को, right? So let's move ahead. तो अब हम लोग जब cytokinesis के बारे में डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, let me tell you something here. Cytokinesis takes place in two different ways with respect to the cells in which it is taking place. In animal cells, cytokinesis takes place by cell furrow method, whereas in the plant cells, cytokinesis will be taking place by cell plate method. याद रखना, because both of them are very important from NEET point of view, right? तो आपको क्या ध्यान रखना है बेटा, cytokinesis animal cells में कैसे होता है? It takes place by cell furrow method, ठीक है? और अगर मैं प्लांट सेल की बात करूं तो प्लांट सेल में साइटोकाइनेसिस टेक्स प्लेस बाय सेल प्लेट मेथड, ठीक है? तो अब हम लोग क्या समझेंगे, वी विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये जो साइटोकाइनेसिस हो रहा है एनिमल सेल्स में ये कैसे हो रहा है. आफ्टर अंडरस्टैंडिंग द साइटोकाइनेसिस एनिमल सेल्स वी विल स्विच टू साइटोकाइनेसिस इन प्लांट सेल, ठीक है? सो नाउ व्हाट आई वांट यू टू डू इज फोकस ऑन दिस डायग्राम. इस डायग्राम को बेटा देखो ध्यान से, ठीक है? सो दिस इज एन एनिमल सेल, यू नो, यू कैन क्लियरली अंडरस्टैंड बिकॉज इस सेल में कोई सेल वॉल नहीं है, राइट? So as cell wall is absent in the animal cell, so what happens, you see the plasma membrane, they are they actually gets inside, right? They form a furrow. Can you see? ये जो प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन है वो क्या कर रहा है, एक फरो जैसा फॉर्म कर रहा है, एंड द फरो इज अकरिंग फ्रॉम द पेरीफेरी, पेरीफेरी से सेंटर की तरफ एक इन्वेजिनेशन होता है. आर यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट? The plasma membrane during cytokinesis will be invaginating. कहाँ से? It will form a furrow from the periphery. Periphery से towards the center, है ना, ये center की तरफ it will form a furrow. और this type of cytokinesis is known as cytokinesis by cell furrow method, right? तो ये जो furrow होगा ये क्या होगा? It will go on deepening, ऐसे अंदर की तरफ जाता जाएगा, right? It will go on deepening and ultimately there will be the production of 2 daughter cells. Clear to all of you, right? So this method, अब यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है देखो, periphery से towards the center the cytokinesis is taking place. It is starting from the periphery and it is moving towards the center. This type of cytokinesis beta, it is known as सेंट्रीपीटल साइटोकाइनेसिस. क्योंकि ये कैसे हो रहा है, पेरीफेरी से सेंटर की तरफ हो रहा है. दिस साइटोकाइनेसिस इज टेकिंग प्लेस फ्रॉम द पेरीफेरी टुवर्ड्स द सेंटर, इसलिए हम इसको क्या बोलेंगे बेटा, हम इसको बोलेंगे सेंट्रीपीटल मेथड ऑफ साइटोकाइनेसिस. राइट, समझ में आ गया? इसमें क्या क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, एनिमल सेल्स में कौन से टाइप का साइटोकाइनेसिस देखा जाता है? द आंसर विल बी सेल फरो मेथड ऑफ साइटोकाइनेसिस. This cell furrow method is which like is it centripetal or centrifugal? You know that cell furrow takes place from the periphery towards the center, इसलिए हम इसको क्या बोलेंगे, centripetal cytokinesis. Correct? समझ में आ गया? तो अब हम लोग क्या करेंगे, let us proceed further. ठीक है, let us move ahead. Right? तो अब देखो साइटोकाइनेसिस इन प्लांट सेल. देखो प्लांट सेल में प्रॉब्लम क्या है, प्रॉब्लम ये है कि आप अगर ये डायग्राम को ध्यान से देख रहे हो तो आपको प्रॉब्लम पता चल चुका है. that plant cells, they have a cell wall and the cell wall, it is inextensible. वो ऐसे stretch नहीं हो सकता, it cannot form a furrow, right? It is very rigid structure. So in case of plant cell बच्चा, cytokinesis cell furrow method से नहीं हो सकता. तो फिर कैसे होगा बच्चा यहाँ पे? Cytokinesis in case of plant cells will be taking place by cell plate method. It will be taking place by cell plate method, right? तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा? The cell plate will be laid from the center and the cell plate will be extending towards the periphery. Cell plate कहाँ पे पहले lay होगा? In the center, and from the center it will be laid or it will be moving or forming towards the periphery. तो इस type of cytokinesis को आप क्या बोलोगे? Can I have the answer? Yes, I think all of you have guessed it right. इस तरीके के साइटोकाइनेसिस को बेटा आप बोलोगे सेंट्रीफ्यूगल साइटोकाइनेसिस. क्लियर? क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो सेल प्लेट फॉर्म हो रहा है वो कहाँ से फॉर्म हो रहा है? सेंटर से पेरीफेरी की तरफ. देखो सेंटर से पेरीफेरी की तरफ ये फॉर्म हो रहा है. सो दिस इज एक्चुअली अ सेंट्रीफ्यूगल मेथड ऑफ साइटोकाइनेसिस. क्लियर टू ऑल ऑफ यू? अब एक चीज आप लोगों को बता देती हूँ कि ये जो सेल प्लेट है इट विल देन फॉर्म द मिडिल लैमेला. आप लोगों को याद है मैंने पढ़ाया था. What did I teach you? That if this is one plant cell, this is another plant cell. So these two plant cells, they are cemented with the help of the middle lamella, right? So let me tell you the first formed structure in the cell. It is what? It is the middle lamella in case of the plant cell. And what exactly is the middle lamella? It is the cell plate which helps in dividing the plant cells or dividing the parent plant cell into the daughter plant cells. Clear? तो आप यहाँ से क्या क्या questions expect कर सकते हो? Why does plants में Why is cell furrow method not applicable? Answer आपको पता है क्योंकि plant cell में क्या है? Rigid cell wall होता है, because of which cell furrow is not possible. इसके बाद question ये आ सकता है कि फिर plants में cell cytokinesis कैसे होता है? In plants, cytokinesis will be taking place by the method of cell plate formation. Correct? और cell plate कहाँ से form होता है बेटा? Center से periphery की तरफ. That means this type of cytokinesis you can call it as centrifugal. Correct? और इसके बाद ये जो सेल प्लेट होता है इट विल देन फॉर्म व्हाट? बाद में ये बन जाएगा मिडिल लैमेला एंड इट विल बी रिच इन कैल्शियम एंड मैग्नीशियम. पेक्टेट, इट इज द सीमेंटिंग वॉल जो दो प्लांट सेल को विच इज प्रेजेंट इन बिटवीन द टू एडजेसेंट प्लांट सेल्स. करेक्ट. तो अब हम लोग क्या करेंगे, लेट अस मूव अहेड. Yes, what is doubt? Yeah, Sai Krishna, what is doubt? Can I please, karyokinesis is doubt. I do not understand, bacha. Karyokinesis has been taught in the previous lecture, right? What is your doubt? If you could please specify, I will explain your doubt, Sai Krishna. Not a problem. I will explain your doubt, whatever doubt you have. Okay? Please let me know. Okay, so now let us talk about the significance of mitosis. Correct? तो significance क्या होता है बेटा? Mitosis first and foremost, what does it help in? It helps in the growth of an organism. Correct? So the cells will continuously divide and it will be leading to the growth of an organism, right? So growth of multicellular organism is mostly accounted to what? It is mostly accounted to mitosis. Clear? इसके बाद बेटा after this you have to remember a very important point. ये growth के साथ, if you remember in the first lecture I had spoken about, एकदम शुरुआत के lecture में I had spoken about the nucleocytoplasmic ratio. If you have not seen the first lecture, I urge you all कि please go back to the playlist, search for the cell division pehla lecture and please see what I have explained about the nucleocytoplasmic ratio. है ना? What did I tell? कि cell, as the cell starts growing, right? The nucleus is very small, like it is small as compared to the size of the cell, right? तो इसके वजह से what will happen? The nucleus will not be able to control all the functioning of the cell. That means the nucleocytoplasmic ratio will be disturbed. And whenever the nucleocytoplasmic ratio is disturbed, that is the time that the cell will undergo cell division. ठीक है? तो please remember, जैसे जैसे एक organism grow कर रहा है, growth is taking place. Why? Because of disturbance of the nucleocytoplasmic ratio, because the cells are growing in size, so they need to divide, and because of that there is continuous mitosis that is taking place, leading to the growth of the organism, right? After that, what else should I tell? After that, let me speak about cell repair, right? Aksar, what happens is that you go to play in a field, theek? Now when you are going to play in a field, you often fall down, you scratch your hands, sometimes you get a very deep wound, correct? But all the time what happens is that after few days, how much ever deep the wound may be, it will get healed, and that is because of again mitosis, correct? Also you remember the cells in the upper layer of the epidermis, right? They are continuously replaced and repaired. If you think about the blood cells, they are also continuously replaced, right? So if you think about the lining of the guts, they are also continuously replaced and new cells are getting formed. How is this possible? All of this is possible by the process of mitosis, right? And it results in the production of diploid daughter cell with identical genetic complement. Do I have to explain this to you? I think you have understood this by now, that mitosis is also known as equational division, correct? That means it has the daughter cells will be having the same number of chromosome as is found in case of the parent cell, and also mitosis will not lead to any variation. That means they will be forming the exact genetic copies of the parent cell, right? So that is it, and this is a very important point, bacha, which you need to remember. Mitotic divisions in the meristematic tissues, that is the apical and the lateral cambium, leads to continuous growth in case of plants. Now, in the chapter plant growth and development, if you remember, we say, or even in the chapter living world, the very first chapter, when we discuss growth, we say that plant growth is indefinite. Do you guys remember that? Do you remember the terminology that plant growth is indefinite? Batao, in case you remember. Why do you think, bacha, that the plant growth is indefinite? The plant growth is indefinite because there is the presence of this apical meristem, right? And this apical meristem leads to continuous growth in the plant body. For that reason, the plant growth is indefinite, and again continuous growth is credited to what? It is credited to the process of mitosis, right? So now let's move ahead. Let's start another amazing topic, which is meiosis. Now you see, mitosis that takes place in most of the somatic cells, right? But when it comes to meiosis, meiosis is a very specialized process, and it will also take place in specialized cells. The specialized cells where meiosis takes place, it is known as the meiocyte. Let me tell you, the specialized cell where meiosis takes place, it is known as the meiocyte, right? These are specialized cells. ये क्या है बच्चा? ये होता है specialized cells, and in these specialized cells meiosis will be taking place. समझ में आया? ठीक है. अब now let us discuss what exactly is the process of meiosis, है ना? Process of meiosis क्या है? Meiosis is a process in which the parent cell gives rise to 4 haploid daughter cells, and let me be very clear about a point here. Meiosis takes place in diploid cells, and whenever meiosis is taking place, meiosis will lead to the formation of haploid daughter cells. For that reason, students, meiosis is also known as, if you know, it is also known as the reductional division, है ना? It is also known as the reductional division. मत भूलना ये. क्यों reductional division बोल रहे हैं? क्योंकि जो parent cell है उसमें diploid number of chromosomes है, लेकिन जो daughter cell है उसमें सिर्फ haploid number of chromosome है. That means the chromosome number is reduced to half. इसलिए the overall process of meiosis can be known as a reductional division. ठीक है? तो देखो यहाँ पे diploid से by the process of meiosis, how many daughter cells are produced? 4 daughter cells are produced, and these daughter cells are haploid, right? Now you see there are various types of sexual life cycles that can be present in various organisms, and depending on the sexual life cycle, you have to remember that meiosis can also be of various type. The 3 types of meiosis which we will be discussing, it is gametic meiosis, zygotic meiosis and the sporic meiosis. Please have a look here. Gametic meiosis, zygotic meiosis and sporic meiosis. These are the 3 types of meiosis that we will be discussing here. So to start with, we will start with the gametic meiosis. Gametic meiosis, it is generally found in any diploid organism. For example, in case of human beings, right? So you know that human beings, we are diploid organisms, right? We are diploid organism. But you also know another fact. What is the other fact that you know? That gametes are always haploid. So, or diploid organism, how will they produce the haploid gametes? They can only produce the haploid gametes by the process of meiosis, right? In the diploid organisms, they can produce the gametes which are haploid by the process of meiosis, and then these gametes, then what will happen? These gametes, they will fuse, right? The male and the female gametes, they will fuse and they will form the diploid zygote, correct? And this diploid zygote will again undergo mitosis to form the embryo, and then ultimately again the diploid organism will be formed. Is it clear to all of you? What did I say? Where do you observe gametic meiosis in? You observe gametic meiosis in organism, in diploid organisms, say human beings. The diploid organisms will be producing gametes. How will they produce gametes? Gametes are always haploid, so the only way of producing gametes, it is by meiosis, right? So the gametes are produced, and then what will happen? The gametes will be fused and there will be the formation of the zygote. This zygote will form the embryo by mitosis, and embryo again will undergo mitosis to form the diploid organism. Clear? ठीक है? Now let us move ahead. Now let us talk about zygotic meiosis. ठीक है, zygotic meiosis के बारे में now let us understand, right? So zygotic meiosis takes place when? देखो बेटा, if an organism is haploid, for example let us consider algae. Let us consider most of the algae, you don't consider fucus and all which have diplontic life cycle. Most green algae for example, they have gametic meiosis. Why? Because let us say that algae, they are haploid organisms. How will they produce the gametes? If you want, you can write it in the chat box. How will an haploid organism produce gametes, right? Can you say, because organism is already haploid, gametes क्या होता है? Gametes are also haploid. So an haploid organism will form the gametes by the process of mitosis. Meiosis नहीं होगा, right? Meiosis नहीं होगा. The haploid organism will produce the gametes by mitosis. I hope you all agree to this, right? Now what will you observe? That the gametes will fuse again, correct? That is how sexual reproduction takes place. Fusion of gametes is a must, right? So the gametes, they will be fusing, and what will they be forming? They will be forming the zygote, correct, right? Now zygote, there is a problem here, correct? What is the problem? The problem is that the original organism was haploid, correct? So now if the diploid zygote, it undergoes mitosis, then a diploid organism will be produced, and that is not what is the original genetic constitution of the organism. So now what will happen? You see, this zygote will undergo meiosis and it will reform the haploid organism. Are you getting my point? Original algae haploid था, gametes mitosis से produce कर दिया, दोनों gametes fuse करके zygote बना डाला. zygote हमेशा diploid होता है, लेकिन original organism तो बेटा haploid है, right? तो अगर haploid organism produce करना है तो कैसे produce करेगा? This zygote will now undergo zygotic meiosis और क्या बन जाएगा? Haploid organism बन जाएगा. हो गया? Clear to all of you? ठीक है? So now let's move ahead. अब हम लोग क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं? Now we will be talking about sporic meiosis. Sporic meiosis बेटा क्या होता है? Sporic meiosis takes place in some organisms like bryophytes, like pteridophytes. इन कुछ organisms में sporic meiosis होता है. I will give you an example. I will consider bryophytes, right, as an example to understand this process, right? Bryophytes beta, देखो, bryophytes, what are they? Bryophytes are their main plant body. The main plant body of bryophytes, they are haploid, ठीक? Now they will produce gametes. How will they produce gametes? Obviously by the process of mitosis. Now these gametes, they will fuse. Fuse हो गया, क्या बन जाएगा बेटा? बन जाएगा zygote. क्या बन जाएगा? Zygote. अब twist सुनो, यहाँ पे twist है. This is the place where twist is there. Now this zygote that is formed, though the main plant body, it is haploid, it will not undergo zygotic meiosis. What will happen? You see, this zygote will undergo mitosis. ठीक है, ये zygote क्या करेगा? Mitosis undergo करेगा and it will produce embryo, and this embryo will be producing the sporophytic या फिर diploid plant body. ठीक है, अभी तक कोई meiosis नहीं हुआ, ठीक? अब ये जो sporophytic plant body है, there will be a structure which will be called the capsule. This capsule will contain, this capsule, one second, let me erase this, yeah. This capsule will be containing the spore mother cell. What will the capsule contain? It will contain the diploid spore mother cell. और ये spore mother cell बेटा, ये spore mother cell ध्यान से सुनो, this spore mother cell will be undergoing meiosis and it will produce the haploid spores, and it will produce the haploid spores, and these haploid spores, they will germinate. These haploid spores, they will germinate and they will once again form the gametophytic or the haploid main plant body. समझ में आया सबको ये क्या चल रहा है? Did all of you guys understand what is going on? Bryophytes for example, उसका main plant body क्या है? Haploid है. फिर gametes कैसे produce होगा? By the process of mitosis, correct? अब देखो बेटा, ये जो gametes produce हुआ, the gametes will fuse and they'll form the zygote. अब twist यहाँ पे आता है, जो zygote होता है बच्चा, this zygote will not immediately undergo meiosis to form the haploid plant body. Rather, the zygote will undergo mitosis and it will form the sporophytic or the diploid plant body. In the diploid plant body, there is a structure which is known as the capsule. Inside the capsule, there is the presence of the spore mother cell, and this spore mother cell, it will undergo meiosis, right? This spore mother cell, it will undergo meiosis and it will produce the haploid spores, and these haploid spores, they will germinate to produce the haploid main plant body, which is actually the gametophytic plant body, right? So, this is how sporic meiosis will take place. Okay. Now, let us talk about the prophase 1 of meiosis. But before I start, I think I will do prophase 1 in the next class, but in this class I want to introduce you to some of the important things or concepts which are related to meiosis. ठीक है? तो फिर let us talk about meiosis, right? Obviously in the very beginning there will be interphase, correct? Now you have to have a concept very clear in your mind here, bacha. What is the concept? The concept is meiosis is a type of cell division in which 2 rounds of karyokinesis will take place. 2 बार nuclear division होगा. Please remember that there will be nuclear division twice. Very important point, nuclear division 2 बार होगा, but DNA replication जो है ना बेटा, वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ 1 बार ही होगा. Very important key points बच्चा, very important key points, you have to remember this. क्या बोली मैंने ये बोला कि meiosis के दौरान, during the process of meiosis, karyokinesis will take place twice, या फिर न्यूक्लियर डिविजन विल टेक प्लेस ट्वाइस, लेकिन जो डीएनए का रेप्लिकेशन होता है that takes place only once. And when is this one time DNA replication taking place? This DNA replication will be taking place during the S phase of the interphase. It will be taking place during the S phase of the interphase. समझ में आया सबको? इतना क्लियर हुआ सबको? ठीक है? So now let us talk about meiosis. We'll go back here once again. So here, so there is a diploid cell. A diploid cell will have 2n number of chromosomes and 2c amount of DNA, correct? Now in the interphase, what happens? You know that the number of chromosomes remain the same, but what will happen? The amount of DNA will double. That means during the interphase it will become 2n and 4c. If you cannot understand how is this happening, go back to the first lecture on cell, go to our playlist, check it out and you will get this concept clear. तो meiosis में diploid cell से start होता है, it has 2n, 2 number of chromosome, 2c amount of DNA. Then during the interphase it becomes 2n, 4c. Then after meiosis 1, right? After meiosis 1 it becomes N. 2 daughter cells will be formed and each daughter cells will have N number of chromosomes. Each daughter cells, they will be having N number of chromosomes and 2c amount of DNA. Please ध्यान दो, initially you started with 2n number of chromosomes. Initially you started with 2n number of chromosomes, but after the completion of meiosis 1, what happened bacha? The chromosome number got reduced. Yes, so that is why ये जो meiosis 1 है ना बेटा, this meiosis 1, it is also known as the reductional division. meiosis 1 को हम लोग strictly reductional division बोल सकते हैं, because it is exactly in the meiosis 1 where actual reduction in the number of chromosome is taking place. Now after meiosis 1 there is interkinesis. There is interkinesis, right? Before, what is interkinesis? It is same as interphase. Same as interphase, but what is the difference then? Why is it called interkinesis? The only difference is in this interphase S phase is absent. यहाँ पे S phase नहीं होता, और S phase नहीं होने के वजह से DNA replication सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक ही बार हो रहा है. क्लियर? अब देखो बेटा, नीचे आते हैं. इसके बाद there will be meiosis 2. Now each of these daughter cells will undergo further nuclear division, and after meiosis 2 there will be the production of 4 daughter cells. Each daughter cells will be having n number of chromosome and c amount of DNA. That means you see the number of chromosomes is same after the after meiosis 1, and it is also same after meiosis 2. So meiosis 2, it is more or less similar to that of mitosis, and often people can call meiosis 2 as equational division. But overall, if I ask you overall the process of meiosis is what? Overall the process of meiosis, it is reductional division. To be specific, meiosis 1 is the stage where actual reduction of the number of chromosome is taking place, but during meiosis 2, it is more or less, it is similar to that of mitosis, so often we can call it as the equational division, right? So that was all for today's session from my side. Hope you have enjoyed the session. Do give do subscribe to our channel Infinity Learn by Sri Chaitanya. Thank you all.